So hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to you wherever you are around the world, and thanks a lot for taking the time to join us for this Avid webinar where we're going to give you a first look at a new solution coming from Avid called Avid Stream IO. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Martin Appleton. Martin is our Senior Manager of Product Management for Servers and Graphics, and my name is Craig Wilson, and I'm the Product Evangelist for Video and Media here at Avid. So let's take a look at the agenda and what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to give you an overview of a brand new solution that's coming from Avid called Avid Stream IO. Now, this is a first look at Stream IO. Some of you who were perhaps lucky enough to be at the NEB show back in April would have got a sneak peek there. We were showing it there as a tech preview. But here we just want to give you a bit more information about what's going to be included in the solution when it comes out later in the year, and give you more information about that. And of course, there'll be lots more information that will come out when Stream IO is released in a little while. But today we're going to give you an overview. We're going to look at some of the product features. We'll talk about some of the configurations that's involved. We'll then do a short demo to show you what's involved with the product itself. And then Martin and I are going to have a discussion where we'll talk about some of the workflow capabilities of Avid Stream IO, where it sits within an Avid MediaCentral workflow, for example, but also where it can be used where perhaps you're using other non-Avid products as well, because the flexibility of the solution overall really offers you lots and lots of different options for what you can do. And then we'll provide a summary at the end, and we'll give you some links to find out some more information as well. So when we talk about Avid Stream IO, really what is it that we're talking about? So at a high level, Avid Stream IO is Avid's next generation ingest and playout solutions. Okay, so really what this is a single solution for all of your ingest and playout needs. And that covers, of course, the world of ingest and playout is changing and evolving a lot. So we still have SDI, a lot of people, everyone's very familiar with it. It works, it's pretty rock solid. Everyone knows what to do with it. So Avid Stream IO will, of course, support SDI workflows, but it's also going to support workflows with compressed IP streams, such as SRT, for example, RTMP and others. And it's also going to include the capabilities of live video over IP as well. So it's really going to provide a solution for all of these different capabilities all together in a single solution, as we mentioned. It's software-based, okay? So it's not going to run on proprietary hardware. It will run on off-the-shelf hardware, and we'll give you some more information about the kind of specifications for the hardware that will be required to run it. But of course, because it is software-based, it's ready for deployment on-premise, but also ready for deployment in the cloud as well, and supporting, what I think a lot of people are very interested in at the moment, which of course is, hybrid type workflows as well. It will fit seamlessly into an Avid MediaCentral workflow with Avid MediaCentral Production Management, for example, but it also will support not just OP Atom, but OP1A workflows as well. And that will also open up, some other opportunities too. So before I hand across to Martin, who's going to delve into a bit more detail on the product and the capabilities which it's going to have, we thought we'd just set the picture with a short video, which really just shows you the capabilities of Stream IO and what's going to be coming. So for now, I'll hand across and we'll play in the video. A single solution for ingest and playout needs. SDI feeds, compressed IP streams, and ST2110 video over IP. This is Avid Stream IO. With 4 flexible, fully configurable channels for any in and out combination, it's the ideal video server for all of your broadcast, contribution and distribution needs, with support for the most commonly used video codecs, both as OP Atom and OP1A. It's a software-only solution available through an annual subscription, ideal for on-premises deployment, and also ready for the cloud and hybrid future of media production. Customers are free to purchase their own hardware, meeting Avid certified specifications with choices to fit their workflow needs, or it can already be set up in a VM in the cloud.
Editorial teams can begin editing within seconds of the start of any recording beginning in their MediaCentral production systems with high-resolution media or with a proxy which is generated simultaneously. Play-while transfer workflows are also supported to speed up that crucial turnaround of media to the studio even more. Avid Stream IO has a web-based remote console for manual control of each of the channels. For even greater ingest workflow efficiency, it can be controlled by MediaCentral Acquire in MediaCentral Cloud UX or MediaCentral Capture. This choice enables the control of many more channels from a single location. For Playout, the remote console can do that too, or MediaCentral Command can take control for newsroom rundown workflows, and there are protocols to enable control by third-party automation systems too. From flexibility around the configuration, to flexibility about where it's deployed, to financial flexibility through subscription and the choice of hardware, Avid Stream IO delivers.
So hopefully the video there gives you, an overview of what's involved with Stream IO and really some of its, key capabilities. But to delve into things in a bit more detail, I'm going to hand across to Martin now, who's going to walk you through some of the real detail that sit behind Avid Stream IO. So Martin, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Greg. Great to be here. So today I'd like to go through Stream IO and what features this brings to the server environment. Now, this is a brand new server solution from Avid. It's based on off-the-shelf hardware, and we have planned to release features on a regular cadence. So with our first release, we're going to be supporting SDI baseband at the end of August. This is like the main container that people are using to deliver signals to their servers. We have IP streams coming early in 2024, and then IP based on SMPTE 2110 in mid-2024. So we can really create a single environment for managing all of the formats and containers that you're using to deliver signals within the studio environment. Now, the key thing that we have here is that all of the licenses for the software are going to be transferable. So you may start with an on-premises system now and then migrate to a cloud-based solution in the future. So you'll be able to seamlessly move between the two environments. In the first release, we're going to have very flexible I/O configurations. There'll be 4 inputs or outputs available, and they can be configured in any way at any time. So you can start with 4 inputs for ingesting, switch this to 2 later, or even 0, no inputs and 4 outputs later on. All of these channels have 16 embedded audio channels there. We have an on-screen display for SDI output, so you can have a loop through that will show the on-screen display as well. And we can also use the power of NDI to give us clean and dirty feeds that are available on the network for other people within the environment. Now, in the future, we're going to expand this to a 2-channel configuration, 8-channel configuration, so that you can really target your production needs easily with Stream IO. One of the key things about Stream IO is the ability to mix formats and resolutions on each channel. The system has truly independent inputs. So you can be ingesting in XDCAM on one channel, DNX on another channel, with HQ proxy going to the local server storage and be playing out with a different format such as XAVC if needed. It's a truly flexible server that can have any resolution, any codec running simultaneously. Now we have an embedded Nexus client for transferring content to Nexus automatically. We have op-atom export for Nexus and op1a import and export, which is crucial for interoperability with environments outside of Avid. Key to making a flexible server is to be open to different methods of control. So aside from being supported by MediaCentral Acquire and MediaCentral Capture, we have a built-in web remote console where you can control inputs and outputs to the system, as well as build playlists. We have newsroom rundown player through MediaCentral Command. And with support for GPI and VDCP protocols, you have an additional method of controlling the system. We also have our own protocol, OSIP, which is an open API that is distributed to anyone that wishes to use it to also build their own control interfaces, Stream IO. So it's a truly flexible and open environment for managing the server. Stream IO supports very flexible workflows combined with MediaCentral production management. This allows us to have center playback with play while transfer, low latency edit while capture with the HQ proxy, and with support also for ANC data and closed captions on ingest and pattern. Later in the year, we'll also be adding ANC data and closed captions for playout. So we'll have a truly complete package for Stream IO. As we mentioned before, this is based on off-the-shelf hardware. In the first release, we'll be supporting Dell hardware, and we'll be certifying a range of setups that would allow for low, medium, and high-end platforms to be built by customers. Soon after we've launched with Dell, we'll also be certifying HP, so you'll have the option to choose whichever manufacturer matches your IT needs. Eventually, we'll also be certifying a more open configuration, so that pretty much if you meet the specification, you can build a server with any hardware that you choose. So for low-end platforms, which maybe have 4 XD-CAM inputs, there'll be a simple configuration for those. For higher-end platforms where UHD is required, there'll be a different configuration available there. Now, we're also certifying off-the-shelf I/O interfaces. So for SDI, this is going to be boards from Blackmagic. We'll be starting with the Quad 2 to provide up to 3G, and then later certifying the 8K Pro and Duo 2 for low and high-end usage. For IP streams, we're going to be certifying the NVIDIA ConnectX, so that we'll be supporting 2110 for UHD production in the same system. And one of the key advantages of these off-the-shelf configurations is that you can build a system now for maybe 3G production, and then later change the hardware for UHD supporting hardware just by changing the video I/O. So it truly allows you to future-proof your server purchase now with confidence that you can adapt to changing formats in the future.
Great, Martin. So thanks a lot for taking us through that, and hopefully that's given you a flavour, of some of the capabilities that are going to be available for Stream IO. But now what we want to do is we want to give you a little demo. So we're going to show you a little bit of some of the capabilities that will be available for Avid Stream IO in that crucial first release. So let's delve in now and let's do the demo. Okay, so let's take a look now at Avid Stream IO. So this is Avid Stream IO. This is the GUI, and then it's showing me 4 channels. I'll talk a little bit about some of the configuration and some of the views that you can have in a little while. One thing to mention is that it runs on a web GUI. So this is running on Google Chrome on my machine here, and it's giving me access to it. We're going to focus most of our time on what's called the remote console. This is the tab that we're looking at the moment. And that's the tab that most operators would use if they're wanting to do recordings, and using the remote console to do that. You can, of course, control Avid Stream IO using MediaCentral Acquire or MediaCentral Capture for ingest, or MediaCentral Command for Playout. So let's just have a quick look at some of the other tabs that are here, because there are other things that you can do in Avid Stream IO. So for example, in the video engine tab that we have here, you can see here that this is where we can set some of the parameters that we have for some of the channels. And you can see here I've got 2 out channels, I've got 2 in channels coming in, and both of these, you can have dirty output if you want to have that, and the same for what you have coming in as well. So you have some options around the kind of things that you can do, and you can configure that on the video engine page. You also then have the commander page. And some of you might be looking at this if you're familiar with our FastServe line of products, that it's the same UI. So there's continuity there if perhaps you're coming from FastServe and moving to Avid Stream IO in the future. So again, on the Commander tab, some more things you can configure here around things like center playback, audio mapping, for example. You can, of course, have watch folder workflows. So again, there's a watch folder tab here. There's also some other ones around, telemetry. You can check the system, how it's performing as well. But let's focus on the remote console and what we're looking at here. So as I mentioned, 2 channels in, 2 channels out. In a 4-channel box, you can have any configuration of these 4 channels. So you could have 4 in, no out, 1 in, 3 out, 2 in, 2 out, as we've got here. You can configure that exactly as you want to have it. In the display here, I'm obviously looking at the 4 channels along the top, and then below it, I then see the inventory. So this is the content of recordings that have been done or items that have been sent to playback, potentially to be played out using Avid Stream IO. There are some other view options. I'll just quickly look at them. So you see here at the top right-hand side, we're looking at what's classed as the normal view. There is then a compact view, so you can still see the video, but it's reduced in size. There is then also the small view, and then there is this other view with columns, and that then shows me, all the channels here on the left-hand side, and then the inventory at the right-hand side. So you can choose, which of these different views that, of course, you use. Now, I also want to point out here, and again, if you've used perhaps MediaCentral Stream before, you might be familiar with this, where we have the concept of ingest templates and routing templates. And really what this is about is, as an administrator, you can go in, you can set these templates up. So as a user, when you come in to use them, it's very simple and straightforward because a lot of these parameters are already defined. And all you need to do is choose the right template that you actually want to use. So that's really what these are for. I'll just quickly bring up an ingest template to show you. And so you can have a default template as we have here, or you can actually go in and create more templates. And these templates then offer more flexibility around, the different kind of workflows that you can see. But it is things like a preset based around, perhaps the codec that you're going to be using, the layout, the audio that you want to use as well. Also the storage that perhaps you're going to be ingesting into, and also things like if you're working in a MediaCentral production environment, perhaps the folder where clips are going to be ingested into as well. So that's really what the ingest templates editor is all about. Now, on the individual channels, if you have a quick look at them, if I come up here to the little ellipsis, we have on-screen display settings. So you'll see when I do a recording that some of these displays will display, and you can choose which of the ones are that you actually want to have coming up on the channels as you're working. So let's go ahead now and do a recording. So a couple of different things that I can do. One is I can just do a crash recording. So I could just click on this button, do a crash recording, and the system would go into record. Or I can choose this button here for new recording, and that then lets me choose which template it is that I want to use. Now you'll see here that in this template, we have basic and we have advanced settings. And that's because you get more options depending on what the workflow is you actually want to do. So I'm going to go ahead here and choose this OP1A and OP Atom template that we have. Again, one of the great flexible abilities of Avid Stream IO is the fact that you can do OP1A and you can do OP Atom ingest. You can actually do that simultaneously if you wanted to do that to different locations. So here we have a default duration, which is an hour. I'm just going to go in and do a 5-minute recording for us here, but you have hours, minutes, and seconds. I can go in and give it a file name. So the file name we're going to have on this one is the Countryside GVs. So here I can also name the file. Now you see as I'm highlighting the file name here, at the right-hand side, I can use a bunch of defaults. So I could use, $T for date and time, for example, or $D for date, $T for time. So you can use these as part of your configuration. But I'm just going to go in here and name this clip. Cool. Once I'm happy with that, I could have auxiliary media. I could do proxy media here as well. I can also copy media to other locations. But let me just go ahead now and go into record. So what you'll see is channel goes into record. And then in the inventory, I can also see that the recording has started as well. Now, I mentioned about the on-screen displays earlier on. If I hover my mouse over here now, you'll now see that, here we have, time of day time code. It shows me the codec that I'm recording in, the format, the audio format we're using, and we also have some clocks counting down counting up, and also the total duration that we have in here. Now, there are also options. If I go back to the ellipsis now that we're doing a recording, I could, of course, modify this recording. So, for example, I could go in and I could change the duration, while the recording is ongoing. In the inventory here, you'll also see that we now get a bar which represents the time span of the recording, with a progress bar, showing me how far the recording is. And of course, the recording is in red, so I can easily see that this is a recording that's also ongoing just now as well. Now, let's suggest a workflow where perhaps I'm doing an ingest and I also want to play this out at the same time. Then to play out the clips, all I need to do is simply drag it from here and drag it into the playout channel. And that's now going to queue on the first frame. Now, the reason that it's queuing on the first frame is because that's a behavior that is set on the channel itself. So if I go to playout settings, you see here it's set to go to a still on first frame. You could set to play immediately. You also get this option of queue and play next as well. So you do have these options. But from here, all I'm going to do now is just click on the play button. And of course, the clip is now starting to play. So I'm ingesting on one channel and I'm playing out on another. So this is a workflow that you might want to deploy, but you may want to have something playing on other channels, of course. So it's very simple and straightforward to do. So I'm just going to grab this recording and drag this up. Now, you've also got some options around whether or not you want clips to loop, for example. So let me just click this one off to play. So you do have some settings where, for example, here, this clip is going to loop 100 times. You can, of course, break that loop, so it would only play once. You can also control when you drag and drop whether or not you just want it to play once as well. So that, again, is just part of some of the configuration on the system itself. I can, of course, pause any playout that's ongoing, and of course I can resume playback with that as well. Of course, here I also have the option to eject recordings as well, so I can reject from the playout port. So here we have two channels playing out. We have one channel in record and one channel that I'm just seeing a preview of a feed that's actually coming in. Now, if I wanted to look at any of these channels, perhaps in a little bit more detail, we looked at some of these configuration options that we have here. We also get this option here where I can actually maximize the view that I have of this particular channel. But you see the other channels now are up here at the top left-hand side. If you hover your mouse over them, you still get a nice little preview. It can show you what's actually going on. And you can see here the board are showing this is the one that's in record. This is one that's playing out. And if I wanted to, to go to any of these channels, you just click on it, and that then loads in this single monitor view that we have here. The same for the ingest channel. You just click on it and it comes up here as well. Now, if I go back to the way that we were looking at things before with the 4 channels, you'll also see here that I can minimize channels. So here I can minimize a channel and it goes here at the top right-hand side. Again, just click on it and it comes back. So there's quite a lot of options that you have here. Now, one really important thing to mention, of course, is while my workflow here using Avid Stream IO, downstream from here, if I'm working in my MediaCentral production management system, perhaps I'm an editor using Media Composer, or I'm a journalist using MediaCentral Cloud UX, I'm really not impacted by this at all. My workflow remains exactly the same, and the same on the playout side as well. And that's one of the key things, that this is a non-disruptive way of introducing new technology into your MediaCentral production system. Also important to recognize that you don't need to have a MediaCentral production management system, because, of course, Avid Stream IO can also ingest OP1A files as well as OP Atom files. Could be ideal for workflows perhaps with Avid storage, non-Avid storage, and also perhaps Adobe Premiere Pro editors as well. So there's lots of workflow capabilities. Now, you can see in my playout channel here that this is continuing to count down. We're coming towards the end of the 5 minutes of the recording, and you'll see once we get to that point that the recording, of course, is just going to stop. But of course, my playout channel is still playing out because the recording, we haven't finished off playing out the 5 minutes of the recording. So you can see here now that we're counting down towards the end. We're still counting up as well, but we're able to ingest and play out, of course, all at the same time. So really, that's just a quick look at some of the capabilities of Avid Stream IO. In this configuration, 4 channels, 2 in, 2 out. But again, as I mentioned, you can have it configured in any particular way that you have. I've shown you the manual playout method of selecting clips and putting them into the playout channel, or selecting clips and putting them into record. Really important to recognize that MediaCentral acquire and MediaCentral capture for ingest, and MediaCentral command for playout. And also we have, VDCP controls, and also OSIP, for example, which is our API for third-party controls as well. So you can control Avid Stream IO using, these other kind of technologies as well. So hopefully that's been useful to let you have a quick look at Avid Stream IO. Of course, a lot more to come once we get closer towards the release. But for now, let's go back and let's have a chat with myself and Martin, and let's talk a little bit more about some of the workflow capabilities and go into some of the details in a bit more depth. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and we'll go back to having a chat with me and Martin. So hopefully the demo there has given you a flavour of some of the capabilities of Avid Stream IO. It's worth mentioning that, of course, today is just a first look. There's lots more features and functionality which is there, particularly around the administration and the setup and the more technical background to it. Of course, as we get towards the release of Stream IO, we'll be providing lots more information about that. But Martin and I are going to have a little bit of a discussion now, because there's some other elements that we really wanted to tease out and talk a bit more about. So Martin, the first thing I wanted to ask about is, from an Avid perspective, we're moving here from hardware products to a software product with off-the-shelf hardware. Why do we think that's significant and important for our customers to do that?
Well, a lot of customers have been approaching us about moving to a more IT-based model for their hardware deployment. They want to be able to buy systems flexibly from different manufacturers, Dell, HP, or somebody else, and take advantage of the ease of obtaining these systems. And this also allows them to better target the use cases that they have. When you build an integrated solution, sometimes you end up with a one-size-fits-all, or maybe 1 or 2 platforms to try and cover all the needs. And we know that customers have a very different range of requirements. We know that there are some customers that want a simple 2-channel server because they want multiple systems for redundancy. Other customers want an 8-channel server, or one that is capable of doing UHD. And trying to address this with one box is somewhat complicated, and sometimes introduces additional costs on the customer. By having this more open approach to hardware, customers can target the use cases that they have, and also consider buying IT hardware that will suit their future workflows that they plan to move into, without being stuck on an integrated solution from the start. By also supporting off-the-shelf video boards, customers can switch between the signal types that they want to use. SDI is still very, very common now, and IP is slowly being adopted. Not everyone wants to take an IP system now. Maybe they want to switch to this in 1 or 2 years. They have a roadmap within the studio for IP rollout. So they can start with IP, with SDI now, and then when they are ready, they can switch to IP simply by changing the board. So it makes it much less complicated for the customers to work with these systems.
Yeah, so one of the things that comes from what you've said there is about the flexibility that Avid Stream IO can provide. One of the things that we talked a little bit about in the slides beforehand is workflows you can have in an Avid MediaCentral solution, for example, MediaCentral production management. And I think one thing to call out is that from the perspective of the rest of the production, their workflow doesn't change with the introduction of Avid Stream IO.
Exactly. For existing MediaCentral users or SPEED users, it's a very simple transition to Stream IO. It slots in very nicely with the environment that they already have. It's supporting all of the codecs and wrappers that they're using in their existing environment. So it should be a very seamless transition to move to Stream IO.
And of course, some of our customers may have already kind of dipped their toes a little bit into IP stream workflows with MediaCentral Stream, which,
Yes.
if you're not aware, MediaCentral Stream is a software-based server for compressed IP stream ingest and playout. So, what does the future hold for customers? Perhaps who've got MediaCentral Stream now looking at Stream IO.
So the great thing about Stream IO is that early next year, we're going to be rolling in all of the IP functionality from MediaCentral Stream into Stream IO. If you already have a MediaCentral Stream license, you can seamlessly upgrade to Stream IO and enjoy all of the features that are present there, as well as keeping your existing IP workflows, but also gaining additional features like playlists, SDI support, and in future, Synthi 2110 support. So Stream IO eventually becomes a single software solution that is capable of managing all of these different delivery formats for video signals.
But it's probably also worth calling out that Stream IO is going to also include not just OP Atom workflows, but it's also going to support OP1A, and that also opens up a whole range of other possibilities too.
Yes, of course, because not every customer is using Avid products throughout their production workflow. Adobe is, of course, very present everywhere. So supporting OP1A allows us to be interoperable with other environments that are not Avid-based. So it's a truly flexible and open platform. We want to play well with everybody. So we think that the approach that we have with Stream IO makes it a very compelling product to use within a production environment.
So we talked a little bit about the hardware, Martin, and you talked a little bit about the sort of configurations from before. One question I just want to ask around was that, coming back to that point of flexibility, that we intend to certify sort of high, mid, and low end ranges of hardware as well. Maybe talk a little bit about why do we think that's important and the flexibility again that brings to customers.
So as I kind of outlined before, there are customers that have different requirements for their production. So they maybe don't want to invest in a very high-end system to do UHD now. They only need to do HD production or 3G. So they can target this with a particular profile of system so that they're not over-investing in the hardware. They can then add other systems in future and say, I want to move into UHD now. There'll be a UHD profile available that will allow them to purchase hardware that matches UHD requirements. So they're truly able to tailor their IT spend to match their production requirements, rather than be forced into adopting a platform that is maybe overpowered for their needs or potentially underpowered. And it also allows us to keep up with advancements in hardware from the different vendors. Like frequently there are CPU refreshes, board refreshes over time, and we can take advantages of the new powers that this brings, either by having a new platform that has a higher spec but for a lower cost, or a much higher spec that can deal with maybe 4 UHD channels rather than 2. So it's really a way of future-proofing our server deployment, so customers can really target what their needs with the right kind of IT hardware.
And also providing a solution that can span from a relatively small, perhaps news station, all the way up to the largest enterprises as well, and having that flexibility as part of the solution.
Exactly. It's the same software that is being used in all of these environments. It's simply adapting to whatever the hardware needs are, or the hardware usage is. So it's you can end up with a studio that maybe has a combination of low and mid and high range hardware, but with the same software sitting on the front end, same user experience for everybody.
Yeah, Martin, so thanks a lot for that. I think a very exciting development for us. Looking forward to it coming out. It's due to be released towards the end of August, start of September. So stay tuned for lots more information there. So Martin, I'll say thank you just now. Let me go back to the presentation just for a second, just really for us to summarize what we've been talking about. So for Avid Stream IO, let's just summarize what we talked about. It's a single solution for ingest and playout needs. starting with SDI, then we'll expand to cover IP streams and also live video over IP. It is software-based. It's going to run on certified custom off-the-shelf hardware. It's ready for the cloud, ready for on-prem deployment, and also for hybrid cloud workflows as well. It is a seamless fit for Avid MediaCentral workflows. You know, if you're an Avid MediaCentral production management customer at the moment, perhaps using a device such as an Airspeed, for example, you can swap that out, introduce Stream IO, and your downstream workflows really do not change. So your production environment, they can keep producing as they have been doing with the addition of Avid Stream IO. It supports OP Atom, but again, crucially also supporting OP1A workflows. So if you're working in a non-Avid environment, perhaps you don't have Avid storage, you're using something like Adobe Premiere Pro, Avid Stream IO can easily fit in that kind of workflow as well. So lots of exciting developments to come there. If you do want to find out a little bit more information at the moment, you can go to the Avid Stream IO webpage, which is on the Avid website. Now you can see the address which is there, which is avid.com/product/avid-stream-io, and that gives you some more information there. As I say, lots more to come as we head towards the release of Avid Stream IO later in the year. For now, finally, I'd like to thank Martin for his time today and for sharing his expertise and his views. So, Martin, thank you very much for that. And to everyone who has taken the time to join us today, thanks very much for that. If you want more information, please go to the Avid website. But from both Martin and from myself, thank you very much and goodbye. Have a great day.